Hello my beautiful YouTube friends. Today I bring you the first book review of the year, and it is over Divergent by Veronica Roth. Now, Divergent is set in a dystopian future in Chicago where the government has fallen, and because of this, 5 factions have basically arrived based on what they felt were the reasons the government fell. Amity, Abnegation, Erudite, Dauntless, and Candor. Amity are the peaceful. They believe that war and conflict were the problems. We have Abnegation, who are the selfless. They believe that selfishness was the problem and thinking of self before others. Erudite are the intelligent or the knowledgeable. They feel that people that weren't well educated were the problems. Dauntless are the brave. They believe that cowardice was the problem. And Candor are the honest. They believe that dishonesty, lying, and cheating were the problems. Now, in this world, we are following Beatrice Pryor. Triss is 16 at the start of this story, and that means that she has to go and do the test. Now, this testing is done to everyone who turns 16, and basically this test rules out all other options besides the one faction that you are best suited for. But you don't necessarily have to choose that faction. The next day, at the public choosing ceremony, you have to basically show your allegiance to whatever faction you choose. You see, there's a saying in this world, faction before blood, which means you choose a faction that is different from the one you've grown up in. Your family is left there without you, and you have no more contact with them. You have complete allegiance to that faction. Now, I'm not going to tell you any more because I think I've given you enough information to push you to reading this book if you haven't already. And I didn't know a lot about this when I first picked it up, but I can tell you that I picked it up thinking I would read a little bit. I only had a short amount of time to read, and literally when I had to put the book down, because I had to put it down, my thoughts were consumed with what was going on in the story because I had been so sucked into the characters and the world. It's just a brilliant story. It's brilliant writing, and Veronica Roth, thank you so much for writing this. If you guys have not read this, please click out of this video. Don't spoil yourself. I have one thing that I was spoiled on before I picked this up, and I really don't want you guys to have any spoilers. I think it's best if you go in not really knowing anything about this. Alright, you guys, let's talk about Triss for a moment. I really liked Triss's character. She was very strong, and she was very docile at the beginning of the story, which means you get to see her development as a character. When I say development, I really mean rebellion, but she does things to basically rebel from how she has been raised in abnegation her entire life, and I really enjoyed that. But there is one flaw in Triss's character, and that is when she starts coming up in the ranks, she actually decides to be a bit of an idiot because of the fact that she doesn't realize, oh, I've made friends and they're pulling away, well, whatever, I don't need them. And that's the problem. She still has a weakness. She is not the strongest person. She may not be the weakest, but she's most definitely not the strongest. And because of that, she needs allies on her side. And it literally gets to the point where 4 has to tell her, be weak. Go and make some allies. Go and see your friends. Spend some time with them. And she starts doing that. And it just really bothered me that her character didn't think of that and didn't realize that. Let's talk about Al for a second. I really liked Al's character at the start of the story. But when he pulls that moment in the book with Peter, I just got thinking, you know, he's pulling this because he's worried about becoming factionless, and he's really mad that she didn't reciprocate his feelings. But here's the thing, you guys, it was just a very cheap choice. And I just feel like he chose the cheap way out. So when Triss states, you know, I really don't agree with what he did. I really am not mourning him. I really didn't forgive him. I was right there with her because he really didn't deserve any of that. And the other thing is with Eric's character. I really feel sorry for Eric's character, more so than fearing him, because he's literally become what he had to become in order to surpass 4. Because 4 was always better than him, he decided, I will become what Dauntless want so that I can surpass him in every way. Now, 4, Tobias, that is the spoiler I knew the entire way through the book. Because everybody, when they talk about 4, mention his actual name. And the problem with that is the fact that it's a big spoiler and a big piece of the plot is done because you don't know who 4 is. And I knew the entire way through because of the fact that everybody always spoiled that. Which means when the gossip started taking place with regards to Tobias being abused by Marcus, I believed it from the start. Especially when Tobias was mentioning that he didn't want anything to do with the abnegation faction, and he didn't want to hang out or around any of the stiffs, which I kind of found hilarious that they're referred to as stiffs because, you know, a dead body is sometimes referred to as a stiff. It just made me laugh. Let's talk about the parents for a moment. I wept both when Mrs. Pryor and when Mr. Pryor died. I was just so emotional in those moments, especially because you realize how dauntless her mom was. First off, her coming out of her comfort protected zone to go and visit her in the Dauntless compound. You then find out that she was dauntless before she was abnegation. And then you find out at the end of the book, or at least near the end of the book, that she was divergent. You realize in the testing, I don't know how much Janine is involved in each individual test because of the fact that she's the one talking to the person going through this test. I don't know if she was under surveillance or not. So you realize how brave she was to do that. The other thing is her dad, Triss's dad, he doesn't really actually word his thoughts on Triss and how he actually feels. And when you actually see him go and sacrifice himself for Triss and show how much he trusted and loved her and cared for her and that he believed in what she was doing, you kind of feel really emotional in that moment because of the fact that he didn't voice anything, but he showed all of those emotions to her in that one moment. Now, can we please have a moment's silence for Will? That part killed me. It just killed me. Now, I cannot believe the amount of stuff that takes place in this first book. It's not short, okay? I'm honest, it's almost 500 pages. But the print is really large, so you're thinking it's more like 300. And there's a lot of stuff that goes down in this first book. You think, I can't go any further, I'm just completely drained. And boom, something else is taking place. Now, 4 and Triss, their relationship in this, the moments were very touching and they were very beautifully written. And they're very important to the furtherance of the story because 4 and Triss are both divergent. And they both protect each other at different moments that maybe they don't even realize that they're doing it. But it was just beautiful. And the fear landscape. 2 things. First off, if you were like me, I knew that 4 cared about Triss, but I didn't realize how much he trusted her until he took her through his fear landscape. First off, because to take someone through your fear landscape, that's a big thing, because you're literally opening yourself completely up to them. The second thing is the fact that he had a secret that would be revealed to her in that moment. And he was also going to open up with regards to his past, and he was also going to show something that was detrimental to a politician's position, which I thought was just beautifully done. It was wonderfully handled, And I think it really goes to show why 4 is the way he is. He's very quiet, but he's very outgoing as well. Triss, on the other hand, will probably never take 4 through her fear landscape. When it first took place, I was wondering, why is 4 there? Like, is something going on and he's trying to get her out of the fear landscape? And then they start making out and I'm like, okay, he's part of this. Wait, it's a fear landscape. This makes no sense. Then the bed showed up. And I'm thinking, oh my word, Triss, you have a fear of intimacy? And I was so embarrassed for her. And then I got thinking, there are people watching this. Oh my word. I'm really intrigued to see them do the fear landscape in the movie because of the fact that when she goes to kiss him, there's nothing there when there are certain people watching it. They're just watching her in the fear landscape. So I'm really intrigued to see her making out with air. I think it'll be a very funny moment. But I think it's also going to be a very interesting moment because it's really important. When she tells 4 that he was part of her fear landscape, he looks so hurt. And it just breaks your heart because he's trying to figure out what he's done to her to make her fear him. And then he kind of realizes. And it's a funny, but it's also a serious moment because you realize she has lived a very sheltered life in abnegation, so it does make sense. Now, the final thing that I want to discuss, you guys, is with regards to the Divergent serum, the one that Janine gives to 4. I have a conspiracy theory, and literally it just blew my mind when I thought of it because I know a lot of people have not liked Allegiant. Now, I haven't even started Insurgent at this point in time. I'm hopeful to start it in the next week. And I'm just going to give you guys my conspiracy theory. When Janine says to dispose of Triss because she's not needed or she's injured or something, what if she didn't actually dispose of Triss? What if she gave Triss the Divergent serum as well? That means that she is going through a simulation, which means none of this is real, which means if this is the way the author went, everything in Insurgent isn't real, which means everything up to whenever the big shebang goes on in Allegiant isn't real either. So then I'm starting thinking, oh my word, none of this is actually happening. But then I'm like, no, this is happening. I don't think that's the way the author's gonna go. That's probably not where she went with it. But then I got thinking of something hilarious, and that is, if in the simulation she kissed 4, in real life, who did she kiss? Makes me think, I bet you she kissed Eric. Anyway, guys, that is my review. I'll see you in my next video. Until then, go and pick up a random book and read. Bye, guys.